Hi everyone, it's Vepikuno and I'm back with another video. This time on Mean Look plus Baton Pass Umbreon. Now before I go on with this video, I'd like to urge all of you not to use this team on ladder because it's really frustrating to face. At least that's what people seem to convey when I just get flamed every once in 2 games. So just treat this as an educational video. Please, yeah. Okay, so anyway, Umbreon is usually thought of as a low ladder Pokemon, where the main strategy, it involves passing to a dedicated setup mon like Encore Alakazam. There's this famous guy on ladder who goes by like You Big Nab, who uses that, and this is an all-in approach that I think isn't going to work reliably because Umbreon is pretty matchup dependent, right? Against offense, you can barely get a baton pass going. Now instead, I want to use Umbreon to dominate the stall matchups while still being of use together with the rest of the team in offense matchups. So the philosophy here is that I'm going to try my best to make the rest of the team complement Umbreon, but not require it to pass Mean Look, especially in the offense matchups. Now finally, it's not fun if I show replays where Umbreon is completely dominating, so I'll show replays where Umbreon isn't trapping and immediately winning, and I struggle a little bit, but the rest of the team kind of supports itself and digs out a win. I almost topped the ladder, as I show you later. I got up to number 2. So I don't think this team is too bad. Okay, so first, right, with Umbreon, it's easy to think of tons of strategies with Mean Look, Baton Pass. You could use, like I said, Encore Alakazam, Perish Song, set up sweepers, but the thing is, when you use dedicated mon together with Umbreon, you're kind of wasting 2 slots if you don't pull it off. So to make sure that it's fine in the offense matchup where it doesn't have the time, it's a lot more constraining. Now, one of the best things that Umbreon can exploit in the offense matchup is Synchronize. And if your opponent is using a T-Wave Zap and you lead your own Zapdos and you go to Umbreon, right? Then your opponent is inclined to T-Wave your own Zapdos because that's like a standard, standard lead move. But now you have traded a bad Pokemon with a good Pokemon. So that is actually, winning in the offense matchup. So what I'm going to do is to actually lead Zapdos too. And of course, one obvious use of Zapdos is taking down a trapped Skarmory. And I want to really try my best to one-hit KO Skarmory if possible. So I'm going to make sure that Zapdos is modest, as you can see over here. And I'm going to give it just enough speed to outdo Moltres, with the rest in defense, because it's always nice to be able to survive CB Heracross's Rock Slide. Okay, so let's think about what kind of moves we want, right? So I want to use Baton Pass because Umbreon doesn't have many resistances. I mean, it's only immune to Psychic and resist Ghost, which nobody uses. So I really want Baton Pass to get Umbreon in without taking any damage. It can be a window of opportunity for Umbreon to come in if the opponent sends in Blissey or Swampert. Okay, so let's think about what Umbreon attracts, and let's construct the rest of the team based on that. Now, Umbreon attracts physical offenses like Tyranitar, Snorlax, and Metagross, and so if I can trap and remove these guys, it kind of tells me that I should give this team a specially offensive slant. because these mons are usually able to 1v1. I mean, the remaining mons are able to 1v1, or at least in the case of Gengars, you'll see later on, trade with Boom. So for a start, I'm going to put Dugtrio there, because Dugtrio is a good partner for the Pokemon that draw in and sacrifice themselves to the bulky physicals. I'm talking about Zapdos and Umbreon here. So that includes Heracross too, which really threatens Umbreon. And Dugtrio also helps special offense by taking down weakened Blissey. So that's another plus of having Dugtrio. And also prevents Digitar from running over you, especially Taunt Digitar. So actually, because my team is so frail, right? Charm is going to be a natural fourth option, fourth move on Umbreon. And Umbreon really needs to be timid over here, because it's there are a lot of Pokemon in the range of like 220 to like 250. It includes like Celebi, the slow Jirachis, some Suicunes. So really getting the edge over them, not to mention Tyranitar, of course, is going to be really important. Okay, so the idea behind Dugtrio also is that you want to be able to use Umbreon as a sacrifice once its job is done, because it's pretty much useless then. It can't boom or anything. So that's another reason in favor of using Dugtrio. Now, of course, we can't always sacrifice and trap, so we should strive for ways to deal with these threats prior to sacrificing Umbreon. Okay, so let's deal with the physical threats Tyranitar, Snorlax, and Metagross separately. In order to exploit the Tyranitar trap, we're going to use the Charm Umbreon and pass to Suicune so that it can set up on T-Tar. But Suicune is still very susceptible to crits, right? So I have Calm Mind, Surf, Rest, standard set over here, bulky Suicune. It's the only bulky water on this team, so it better be bold. But for the last move, I am going to use Substitute. So Sub basically protects it against crits, but it has a few other benefits. So first, getting to +6 with a Sub means that you can't be status exploded on, hit by Leech Seed, and it just reduces the number of things that can threaten the sweep. Also, the 101 HP subs really help against Bliss, so it gives you more Calm Minds and allows you to rest till full HP, which really helps if your opponent switches in stuff like Zapdos. You'll see in a battle later on. It also makes dugging Suicune when it's resting under sand impossible, because otherwise, Adamant Dark could possibly 3-hit KO Suicune while it's resting. Okay, so now to deal with Metagross, the strategy is to pass from Umbreon to Zapdos, and this is most likely going to result in a trade, right? And I think the trade is okay because having the Boomer, the explosion user removed is good for a Suicune sweep, and it's also good for Celebi. As you will see, my Celebi is as you soon see, my Celebi is completely walled by Metagross, but I haven't talked about that yet. So I also don't take CB mesh as well. So I expect that the trade will, or possibly might, involve Dugtrio actually taking down Metagross sometimes. Yeah. So all in all, I think the trade between Zapdos and Metagross is, it's a good trade for this team. Okay, now what about Snorlax? So the thing is, you can expect some really strong focus punches from Snorlax, and Charmeleon can attempt to soften the blow. It's not entirely ideal. You know, I could have used Metagross as a pass target, but Umbreon luring T-Tar and Lex doesn't really help Metagross. You know, because I would want to be trapping and removing them, and then like, what's Metagross used for, right? So I can use Skarmory, but there are 3 reasons I didn't immediately consider Skarmory. So first, even in a typical Skarmory Snorlax interaction, Snorlax frequently stays in to fire focus punches on Skarmory. So it feels like you went through all the extra trouble of trapping Snorlax when, you know, it's not going to switch out anyway. The second reason is that Spike's teams, you know, they work on the principle of chipping everything to 70% and cleaning up. Whereas by using Umbreon, this team is about removing specific Pokemon, and the style that fits on this team is you know, more suited to Calm Mind than Spike's. So the third reason is that to really lay a lot of spikes, you need a strong Zapdos pivot like defensive Celebi, but I don't want to be locked into using something with such slow pace. So by using Umbreon, which offers little defensive utility, I'm going to have to accept that the rest of the team will have a weak defensive backbone, and so I can't invite opportunities for strong offenses or spikers to just come in against defensive Celebi. And finally, you know, against say like Curselex and Claydol, yeah, sure, you can spike up on them, but Claydol's going to try to reset the spikes, so you don't make that much progress. So yeah, I didn't settle with Skarmory, and instead I went for Gengar, which is not the most straightforward way you think of dealing with Snorlax, but it really fits here because one, you really exploit the synergy with the trap, right? Say, you know, Snorlax focus punches on Umbreon, then I can immediately go to Gengar, and I'm not worried about you know, I don't take any damage at all. I can use Will-O-Wisp, and the great thing about the Mean Trap is that you prevent Snorlax from going to a WoW pivot like Zapdos, Magneton, Moltres, Starmie, or a Pursuiter, right? The second reason is that Gengar really exploits the synergy with Zapdos' Baton Pass too, because it can take the Tyranitar focus punches T1 without requiring a sturdy bulky water. And you know, you really want to protect Suicune over here, right? Suicune's the setup sweeper. It needs to be at full health to get the maximum number of Calm Minds, so that it doesn't get looped when it's rests. Yeah, so you basically can protect Suicune from the focus punches with Gengar. Okay, now the third reason is that Gengar's Explosion plus Dugtrio actually lures and takes out the special walls if I need one of Zapdos or Celebi or Suicune to sweep. And finally, the utility of the Fast Boom. It allows Gengar to pivot into dangerous Pokemon like Zapdos or Salamence and to equalize the momentum. So you want to make sure that Gengar is faster than the boosted Tyranitar, survives DD Mans and say offensive Kun Hydro, and that is what these EVs are for. You know, here I make it primarily physically defensive with a bit of special defense for the Zaps and the Kuns, and the rest in attack because I don't want Zapdos or Mans alive to, you know, ruin things. Okay, and finally, I have Celebi, which is just a natural fit for the last because I'm going to need to pivot into Zapdos and Gengar. You know, once the jig is up on Umbreon, Gengar realizes that it just sits on Umbreon, it doesn't get pursuited. And I'm going to make Celebi Super Celebi. So Calm Mind, Psychic, Giga Drain. And okay, so now I already mentioned that Celebi doesn't want to be set up bait, and especially for Salamence, right? Which just shits on the whole team. So I'm gonna give it Hidden Power Ice. And the idea here is that Umbreon should do well against Skarm teams, and Umbreon should ideally lure and trade with Metagross early game. So Celebi is free to use Hidden Power Ice. It doesn't have to contend with taking down Skarmory by the time it is revealed. So here I run maximum speed to tie other Mans and to outrun other Super Celebi. Okay, so now the main backbone of the team has been formed, but let's fill in the moves. So notice that this team actually breaks one of the most ubiquitous rules of the advanced metagame, which is that all teams need a rock resist. Now barely anything here can take like Aerodactyl or a strong Tyranitar, a strong Tyranitar's Rock Slide. So of course Dugtrio deals with Tyranitar, but all this stuff doesn't deal with Aerodactyl well. The good thing, however, is that Umbreon is really good at luring and removing Tyranitar. So Umbreon is actually perfect for getting Weather Reset going. So what I'm going to do is to put Sunny Day on Dugtrio, and this gives options on Zapdos instead, because now I don't have to use leftovers, right? I can use Salak Berry, and with Salak Berry I can actually do some revenge killing. I can give it Endure, and I can give it Hidden Power Ice. So this helps me endure against DD Mans and HP Ice it back, or it allows me to endure against Arrow and T-Bolt it back. The nice thing about Salak Berry also is that you get to pass it to Suicune or Celebi, and if you pass it to Celebi, then it's no longer trapped by Dugtrio. If you pass it to Suicune, it now outspeeds Zapdos because I have this sneaky 222 speed inserted in. And so generally it just provides really good synergy to be clearing the weather and passing these boosts. The other good thing about Salak Zapdos is that you can endure against Salak Heracross and take it down. That's one of the things that weather reset teams are always afraid about. Now Hidden Power Ice is also a good choice because we have Celebi and Suicune to deal with Swampert, so you don't really need grass over here. It's not like Swampert is going to stop like physical offenses on this team. So the general plan against fast physicals is really to stop them from setting up on half the mons, and if it's not possible, use Charm with Umbreon, right? If I really need to pivot in an emergency, then I can go to Gengar and I can wow or boom. So I think I have filled up all the slots on the team, but the last slot on Gengar is really a toss-up. So I know I want wow because that helps me deal with Tyranitar and Snorlax, I know I want Boom because getting a Boom on Zapdos is really nice. Also, like chip stuff, brings stuff, into Dugtrio range. But I definitely think I want Taunt also because I don't want Skarmory setting up on me, especially since I have Suicune and Celebi, which don't really hit Skarmory hard. The other good thing is that with Taunt, I can also use Gengar as a pass target when Skarmory is trapped, and then I can wither it down without getting spiked at all. Sometimes Zapdos doesn't KO Skarmory. Yeah. Now, so what I ended up choosing for the last move was Destiny Bond. And I did that because I felt like I didn't want to lose momentum. Now, stuff that this team is weak against, like Salamence and Aerodactyl, all these really come in very easily when Dugtrio revenge kills. So my thought process was that D-Bond basically eliminates these opportunities. But of course, it's also sometimes useful to be able to actually do some damage. For example, you could use Ice Punch over here, right? And that makes it more reliable against Salamence. There are other moves that can be used, Thunderbolt, Hypnosis even, right? Now, I have tried experimenting with Perish Song, but I didn't think it was very useful because Gengar really doesn't have the bulk, and I really want Dugtrio to use Sunny Day. So usually you would see like Umbreon with Perish Song Celebi, or at least something with Perish Song, but no, I'm not going to do that here. Okay, so this is the final team that I decided on. So the tags are Starluck and Dior HP Ice Zapdos, and there's a Charm Umbreon over here with max speed. There's Gengar with decent amount of attack for explosion, and also just enough bulk to survive, to pivot into stuff and KO back. There's Sunny Day Dugtrio, right? There's Sub CM Rest Suicune with just enough speed so that a Starluck Pass Suicune can outspeed Zapdos, and also a CM Psychic Giga Drain HP Ice Celebi. I can't understate how useful this HP Ice has been, because when someone looks at this team, they think, wow, Mance is absolutely going to ruin it, and HP Ice just turns the game completely around. Okay, so that's the entire team. I hope you enjoyed this team building session, and let's move on to the replays. Okay, so the first game that I want to share involves a good matchup, and I wouldn't spend too much time on it. So I lead Zapdos, and my opponent leads Tyranitar, and I BP out to Suicune because I'm not seeing any focus punches, right? Now I see a Pursuit Tyranitar. So I double out to Umbreon, and that's actually a pivotal move. I mean, frequently what I would do is to Baton Pass out to Suicune, and with the threat of hitting Tyranitar hard, I then get a free switch into Umbreon. Umbreon really needs all the HP that it can get, and so now I'm ahead. I can taunt Milotic. Yeah. Okay, so my opponent decides to sacrifice Magneton, which actually is a good idea against me because I don't happen to have bulky stuff with Perish Song, but I take it out anyway by going to Dugtrio. yeah, I don't actually have to baton pass and risk Magneton being faster because of Arena Trap. That's one of the great things about Dark Trio, right? Okay. Now he sends in Celebi, and I expect it to be a defensive Celebi since this is looking at a defensive team. So I go to my own Celebi to deal with that. Yep. And he sends in Milotic thinking that, perhaps I have a Perish Song Celebi, but no, I happen to be offensive. So I'm up ahead. My opponent has no choice but to, exert some pressure if toxic. I anticipate the switch, fire what seems like hidden power fire, but it's actually ice. Okay, and I anticipated the recover, and from the leftovers, the order of leftovers, you can see that I'm faster. So my opponent, well, he fell for that, got taunted, and yeah. So now I mean look this man's, and it is CB because it's not recovering from leftovers. It's one of the threats to. I mean, it's something that can be easily removed with Celebi, but since I get to pass, yeah, I just took it out with Zapdos instead. Okay, so uh, from here on, if my opponent sends in Celebi to be trapped, then I just win with Celebi. If my opponent sends in Milotic to be trapped, then I win with Suicune. So I take the opportunity to get Umbreon in again. Right, and so my opponent decides to leave Milotic in. So the obvious choice is just to start with Suicune. I'm not going to bore you. I PP stall out the Milotic. And, wow. Yeah, so before long, I've stalled Milotic out of PP, and I'm probably going to win this, right? So this is a great matchup. It's Umbreon versus a stall team. Rather kind of a balanced team with CB Mans, but CB Mans is one of the things that I'm well prepared for. So it's a pretty easy win. Okay, in this second battle, I'm going to show you a trap that didn't work well, but I still made lots of headways and narrowly scraped out a win. Okay, so leading Tyranitar again. Yeah, I pass to Suicune. And again, it's a Pursuit Tyranitar. Okay, still have no idea what's behind, but I'm just going to do the tactical double. And out comes this Snorlax. Okay, so Pursuit Tyranitar plus Snorlax, right? Could be like a like a Curse Return EQ Snorlax. Occasionally could be an offensive flex too. But I just decide that I'm going to charm anyway, and yes, it indeed is a Curse Lex. So yeah, I expected the switch, and now he goes to Skarm. So I taunt, and my opponent is using Roar. So I just want to scout for Drill Peck because I can't necessarily go to Gengar that easily. My opponent does have Drill Peck. Yeah, my opponent clearly thinks it's me. And so I go to Zapdos and try my best to one-hit KO it. Okay, great. So now I have to be really careful of Snorlax because I'm using a special spam, and I really do not like Lex being around. Okay. So, expecting the pursuit from Tyranitar again, yeah, I double to Umbreon. I want to protect my Gengar. Okay, so I trap this Celebi and its hidden power. Well, I think it's like hidden power grass, right? So I thought that this would simply be like some kind of Super Rashi, which my Dugtrio can deal with. So I passed that to Dugtrio. I passed the Meanloop with Dugtrio, and it turns out that it survives, but its HP grass isn't powerful enough to take it out. So, well, I guess that's how it is. And my opponent sends in Salamence, and that actually makes me kind of worried, right? It's probably a DD-Mans here. Okay, could be, I mean, BDNs, Mix-Mans, whatever it is. I'm in trouble because I see a DD-Mans, and my team isn't great against DD-Mans. But because I have Charm on Umbreon, I fortunately am able to keep it at bay. My intent was actually to use Celebi to lure it out and take it out later, but yeah, for now we'll contend with Gengar. And over here it almost seems like Tyranitar is an obvious switch, right? Well, I'm still not sure that wowing here was the greatest idea, but I felt maybe he could have gone for a double and threaten me heavily. Maybe he's going to Zapdos over here might have been good, right? Because I could just rain down T-Bolts on the rest of the team. Yeah, I guess I could have played this better, but instead I wowed the Tyranitar, and knowing that I'll be trapped, I just went for the D-Bond. So now I have to be really careful of Snorlax, right? Alright, so over here, yeah, I think with all these special mons left, I can still perhaps outmuscle Snorlax, especially in Sand. So I'm not going to remove the Sand, of course. I'm going to rely on my Modest Zapdos to try to take Snorlax down. Yeah, it's definitely like a rest Lex because it's not doing much damage with Body Slam, and it's only taking 28% from my T-Bolts. Okay, so I revealed my last to be Celebi, and I guess my opponent was thinking that I like fire off Leech Seed or something, or weak Psychic, but here's where the tech comes in. I get the Psychic, and then which almost two-hit KOs it, but it doesn't, so HP Ice does the rest. Yeah, I guess I got a bit lucky here, but yeah, it probably didn't affect the result, I would like to think. Yeah, so Super Archie saves the day. And so let's kind of revisit this battle a little bit, right? So the trap was useful in that I got rid of Skarmory, so I didn't have to take too much spikes, which I guess helped Celebi to survive. And I also managed to get Jirachi trapped so that I could reliably take it out with Dugtrio. And from there, it seemed like Zapdos did a lot of the work, right? With Jirachi down, Snorlax had to take the T-Bolts no matter what. and Celebi, carrying HP Ice was primed against Mens, but not against Jira. So having Jirachi taken out with the mean look pass to Dugtrio was also good. Yeah, so you will realize that Umbreon didn't really do that much apart from preventing spikes here and ensuring that Dugtrio was that Jirachi was securely taken out by Dugtrio. But the rest of the team basically carried itself once Jirachi and Skarmory were down, even in the face of Snorlax. So it really goes to show that there is some merit to actually building a team that is like somewhat independent of Umbreon, not an all-in team. Yeah, and considering I was facing kind of not non-ideal matchups, against DD Mens, I think there's something to be said about carrying the momentum such that you don't even allow Mens the opportunity to set up, or if it does, you force it to trade, with Umbreon. When I say trade, I mean Umbreon gets traded, the whole Mon gets traded, but in return you get that one extra turn, and that one extra turn makes all the difference. Okay, let's go to the third game. Okay, so this is an interesting game that I did not expect to win, and that's because I messed up the trap, so Umbreon was kind of useless, and also I had the wrong EVs on Gengar, so I couldn't KO Zapdos with Explosion, and I thought my Suicune was almost going to lose, but it turned out that Subkun came in clutch. So let's take a look. Again, another T-Tar lead, right? And well, okay, it's a physical tar. It's a CB damage. So I double into Umbreon again. That's what I seem to always do. And now, yes, I mean look the T-Tar, and I charm it because I want to get the Suicune set on it. Now over here, I think I could have gone for the additional charm on turn 6, and that would have helped Suicune a lot. I guess I didn't really do the calculation, but over here it turns out that I get outplayed, or rather Double H KO's Tar before I get to set up substantially on it, in part due to some crits, but crits are kind of always expected when you're going through these rest loops or substitute loops. So I just have to hope T-Tar doesn't crit here. Okay, and I'm just going to spare you the trouble. I sub, and my opponent crits. I sub, and my opponent crits again. Okay, that was unfortunate. So I got no boost from that. Rest, double H, double H. So yep, I finally get to set up my boost, right? But because of the crits, I was only able to set up 4 boosts, and so I don't get to one hit KO Skarmory, otherwise the game is over. Okay, so now I have Gengar coming in. Yep, I taunt the Blissey, and I try to do the same thing again, and now my opponent goes to Moltres. So I don't really have a good Moltres switch in, because right now Suicune gets 2-8 KO'd by HP Grass, or even taking Will-O-Wisp isn't great. So I decided to sacrifice Umbreon and slow pass out. And now the idea is that, well, I think it's going to be very difficult to win. You know, if I don't clear the sand, because my Suicune is chipped, right? And what I want to do right now is to feign having Rock Slide, okay, and instead I go for Sunny Day. Okay, so now Moltres, Flygon, Zapdos, right? Or you know, when Flygon was revealed, I was already expecting this to be a TSS team, and Zapdos was a very likely last. Okay, so I go to okay, let's just go to the previous turn, right? Okay, so I go to Gengar, pivot in on Flygon, and now at this point, I know that for Suicune to win, I just need to sack everything and make sure that Zapdos is down. So I confidently but mistakenly exploded Zapdos with the wrong Gengar EVs, and I left it with 4%. Well, that's a bummer. And now, how am I going to win this? So I can still do it if Suicune, you know, gets the Calm Mind. Sorry, just simply, you know, takes Zapdos out. But Suicune's only at 64%, so I'll need to be able to make sure I get the Calm Mind in, before anything, you know, before Zapdos comes in. But what's stopping me from making progress is Blissey, which is simply going to loop Suicune. Well, as you will see, okay, yeah, yeah, I am not pleased that Blissey has Toxic, but it's kind of expected because that team has no Blissey pivots. So, you know, I'm not just unlucky here. I mean, that's what the opponent's team has to be in order to, you know, be a good team. And I think I was trying to get rid of Blissey here so that I wouldn't be subject to you know, the rest loops, but it seems like I made a mistake, right? I mean, Blissey was modest, Dugtrio has a minimal amount of special bulk, and so Dugtrio just gets KO'd anyway. Okay, well, notwithstanding that, I decide to go for the substitutes and CMs, and so this is the beauty of substitute Suicune. I'm able to get those extra CMs so that you know, I really threaten Zapdos when it comes in, and you know, I can choose to rest anytime here in order to keep my opponent guessing. So I choose to rest now instead of going for the third CM. And so the opponent goes to Skarmory, you know, roars it out, but Suicune wakes up on the next turn with full HP, and that's what you know, that's what Sub is really good at. Sub, you know, keeps Kun at full HP, you know, because it takes the seismic tosses from Blissey. Alright, so you know, my opponent gets Zapdos in here, and I actually find that very perplexing. Now, I immediately thought that it was a Roar Zapdos, because why else would he be sacrificing his own, you know, his only Suicune check, right? And so, expecting Roar, I simply taunt, but he T-bolts. I don't know if that was a play or, you know, that was a misplay, but it certainly set me back, and I felt like I had to get a little aggressive, you know. Well, I think my opponent didn't have to risk the Moltres, and now it's my chance to win. So I can actually just keep going for these loops. Yeah, I go for the loop. And I guess perhaps my opponent was expecting some Baton Pass Celebi instead of well, I guess that might have been a misplay. Okay, so again I try my best to wrestle Blissey down. And my intention here is now to sack all my mons so that his Zapdos can't phase me. Well, now I get frozen, and that's kind of a bummer. Because well, I want to make sure that I don't get spiked on, so that Suicune can tank some of Zapdos' hits, especially if it's a defensive Zapdos. Right, 3 spikes is really bad for me, but I wake up at the most opportune moment. Okay. So now this is where HP Ice is really good. I take out Flygon completely. And at this point, really, I guess I was kind of expecting Toxic. But I think my opponent might have expected me to go to Suicune here and just decided to S-Toss. But I think that was probably not the best play, because for me to really want to get Suicune going, I would actually want to get it in without any chip at all. Yeah, so but my opponent, I guess, figured that I would be staying in and precisely Seismic Toss, there's nothing bad about just giving me another turn, right, to fire off a useless T-Bone. But in fact, that activates Salak Berry, and over here it's a kind of a 50-50, I guess. Well, not really, because Suicune actually can just serve Zapdos twice. Yeah, so by passing speed to Suicune, I have now put Suicune in a position where it needs to take one less T-Bolt against Zapdos. And he reveals that his Zapdos actually doesn't have Roar. Yep, so I win. Yeah, now this is a really interesting game that I want to feature because my Umbreon was almost useless here. I couldn't do anything with it, and in the end, it was the Salak Zapdos that actually helped me to win the game. Really showed how the rest of the team kind of pulled through, even when Umbreon was useless. Okay, so this is my run to the top of the ladder, or almost to the top of the ladder. and this is the first battle that I had, and I immediately fooled my opponent into thinking that my Umbreon was just a typical Pursuit Umbreon. So Blissey got trapped, and I basically won. Even if an Aerodactyl on the opponent's team couldn't stop my team without the Rock Resist. Okay, now let's go to the next one. No, this I featured this battle. Okay, now Dracovish alt. Okay, so well, surprisingly, my opponent T-bolted Umbreon. Okay, seems like I'm just getting crit all over. Yeah, well, this wasn't a great game. Okay, I must admit that Drill packed Zapdos. Now this is a huge problem for my team, and in fact, this was the reason that the team lost in a tour game when McMegan used it against Ban Manaphy. But I mean, it's rather fringe set, so I'm willing to contend with that weakness. Okay, Mind Chemtrail Romance. Yep, Umbreon into Lex. My opponent decides to curse while I send Gengar in, and I decide to charm it. Yep, and so my opponent sends in Jirachi thinking that I'm perhaps Pursuit, I guess, but I really piss my opponent off here, because it seems like I'm just using cheese, right? Yeah, well, okay, I guess nothing much to say over here. I got an early win. Now these are the kinds of games that I didn't want to feature because they're not interesting, but they're an instant win, which is what this team sometimes is about. Okay, well, in this game, well, I somehow managed to clear the weather against a Sandville team, and so I just won. Feels bad to be pulling down someone from 1700, right? Okay. Now in this team, okay, so you see Zapdos against Metagross in action, right? Trapping the Metagross so that my opponent no longer has good Umbreon pivots. So you see, once Umbreon traps Celebi, because Metagross is gone, then there's nothing that my opponent can do, right? And it's just a free setup from there. Okay, well, against Venusaur, huh? Yeah, it's a typical mixed offense team. But I think there perhaps was a point where Zapdos came in. Unfortunately, I don't think Zapdos really did anything to Umbreon over there. I would have loved to see the T-Wave though. Oh yes, I featured this game, so no point showing it again. Yep, I featured this game too. Okay, let's see this. Right, against special offense, so I take the opportunity to take out the Jinx, and now it's special offense against special offense, right? Yeah, somehow I managed to survive. Well, when using these teams on ladder, it feels like you're pissing everyone off, which is why I'm encouraging you not to use it on ladder. Now, I actually had this timid Celebi, and I don't think I lost the game because Suicune's almost at full HP and bold. My opponent had a DD Tar Death. I think this was honestly a roll. But yeah, you can see how it just ticks people off. this is a friendly. I guess I can share it. Yeah, it's not hidden. Oh well, yes, it's my friend Super Epic Ampharos using Lantern. Nothing the Celebi couldn't handle. Okay, so against this mixed offense, right? Well, first HPI Zap, modest HPI Zap is kind of unexpected. So I exploit the BP into Gengar. Okay. Well, by this time, this is looking like undisputed team. And okay, so here's what I want to show you, right? So on turn 6, you have Zapdos against Gengar, and Zapdos's best move against Gengar is to T-Wave. So I trick my opponent and send Umbreon in, and now Zap is useless for the rest of the match. So you can see over here, I just I just exploit I just exploit the paralyzed Zapdos that can't do anything. Okay, November Stars. Well, looks like a standard 40 team to me. So I taunt the Celebi, and it seems like my opponent just gives up. See, I don't want to play this shit. Well, yeah, okay. Kind of expected, I guess. Okay, next. So I'm at 1640. I think I lost a game here. This is a friendly. Yeah, this CM War. Yep, I lost this game, but I think is that right? Did I lose this game? No, I actually tied this game. Yeah, I think I had the odds to win it with some crit fishing, but I fired off like 20 moves and no crits, so yeah, it ended up being a tie. Okay, I won't go through it. 1630. Okay, so finally a Zap BP into Gengar on T-Tar Focus Punch. What I really like. And so I make the double switch. Yep, a lot of these turns are about, you know, double switching Umbreon in at the right time. Okay, so you know it's Whirlwind, right? So I'm not expecting it to have Drill Peck, and it really doesn't. So I go to Gengar because I want the assured KO on Skarmory without actually you know, being susceptible to even one layer of Spike. And oops, Umbreon got frozen, otherwise this would have been really good. And yeah, I get the crit, unfortunate. Okay, so here I set up Sunny Day, expecting Kun to sweep. And my opponent uses Calm Mind Blissey. Okay, that's not great. Okay, but I apparently appeared to have stalled my opponent out of Thunderbolts, so I win. Okay, so that's all for my ladder run. I hope you enjoyed this video. And please do not use this team on ladder. I think I've gotten more flack for this than any other team that I have used in the past, be it Ninjask or Sandville. Yeah, I mean, Personally, I have nothing against playing cheese strats like that, but you know, people don't like it. So I hope this has been educational. I hope this inspires some team building ideas, and watch out for my next video. And finally, before I forget, here is a screenshot where I made it to number 3 on the ladder. You can see the alt center Casola with an elo of 1641. There was some other point in time where I got up to number 2 but with a lower elo. I mean, it all depends on who wants to take ladders seriously at that point in time, right? Again, I hope you enjoyed this video and see you next time.